I'm Coach Tonya here at Critical Bench, and welcome. In this video today, I'm going to be showing you 5 variations of the pigeon pose. Now, a lot of these poses you may already be familiar with, and they do all kind of have their own name, but really when you get down to the basics and the fundamentals of it, these are all really variations of how to do a pigeon pose, and pigeon pose is one of my favorite poses to help open up the hips and just get a really, really good stretch. So I've got 5 variations for you. You will see I do have the box and a yoga block in the background. You're going to see those a little later, how you can incorporate them if you're really super tight and you kind of have to work your way into that full stretch. But other than that, let's just get down to stretching and have some fun. All right, so for the first pose, we're actually just going to go into traditional, and what most of you are probably familiar with is pigeon pose. So let's get down on the floor. And what you're going to do is I'm going to bring my right leg out in front, bent at the knee. And actually, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see a little better. My back leg is stretched out behind me. Now, ideally, you want the weight centered over like both hips, okay? If you find that you're leaning either way, get your hands on the floor and do your best to center yourself. Now, you're going to notice when we switch to the other side that I will lean very badly because I have nerve damage and back issues and all kinds of things going on. So my pigeon pose is far from perfect, but I do like it because it does help stretch. So you want to get your hands on the floor. You want to open up the chest, okay, and just sink down into that. Take a deep breath. And you want to hold the pose for about 10 breaths, okay? And you're going to feel a nice stretch also in your glutes. All right. Push up. Try to sink a little deeper every breath or every couple breaths. Okay, I'm not sure if that's 10, but I do want to show you the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shift my weight onto that right glute, bring my legs around. Now I'm very, very tight on the other side. So you're going to see a big difference when we switch here. So you might find the same. So same positioning, bring that foot out in front, and I can't even get my leg up like I could on the other side. Now if I just go into pigeon, my body is just it's going to fall like that because of the tightness and injuries and stuff that I've had. So I really have to get these hands on the ground and bring my back up to as straight and even as possible. You're going to see my leg is quite more angled in on this side than it was on the other, but I'm working at it. And I'm just going to keep myself centered, keep that chest open again, head up and breathe, 10 breaths. Okay, so again, you want to hold that for 10. That wasn't exactly 10, but you want to hold these for 10 and breathe into the stretch. And as you're breathing into the stretch, try to come either or both a little more centered and a little deeper. So you keep increasing the intensity and the good work that stretch is doing. Now, when doing pigeon pose, if you are really tight and you're finding it difficult to even if it feels like you're just too far off the floor or that you can't even really get into it, you can use a yoga block. Now for this, I'm going to go face on so you can probably see it a little bit better. So you're going to take the yoga block and you're going to place it under whichever hip is the side you're having the most trouble with. It could be both. Now your back leg's going to be a little more bent. I'll turn to the side right away, show you again. But you want to you can use that yoga block to create a little bit of space, give yourself a little help with that stretch. You don't want to be slouched over. You still want to get your fingertips to the floor. You want to keep the shoulders wide, chest open, head up. Okay, and you still want to work on bringing your body weight centered. Okay, let me move to the side so you can see that. Again, so yoga block under the hip, same position. Okay, still in pigeon, but with a little assistance. And there's nothing wrong with the assistance, okay? Because if you have super tight hips, if you are somebody that likes yoga or you just like walking and you find you have tight hips, this is such a great stretch. And you're still going to get that stretch, okay? Now, on the other side of the scale, if you find that you're quite loose, you've got a lot of mobility in your hips, you can actually take this stretch a little further. And what you can do is bring forearms to the floor, and that's going to increase the stretch for you. And from here, you can actually start to bring your arms out a little more, bringing the forehead down to the floor. So those are just variations going from the traditional pigeon pose to assisted to intensifying that stretch. 10 breaths, you should feel really good after that. Okay, so going from the traditional traditional pigeon pose that most of us are familiar with, we're going to go into, I call it seated. Now, a lot of times this is called a figure 4 stretch, but it is still a variation of the pigeon pose because you're kind of getting your legs into a very similar position and it's working the same areas to stretch and open. So you're going to take seated. I'm going to go on a bit of an angle here. Okay, feet on the floor, knees bent. And this is another one too. If you have very marked differences from right to left side like I do, you're not only going to feel it, you're going to really see in how your leg falls or how it lays when you get into the stretch. And funny, not a funny story, but interesting, the last time we had yoga class here at the compound, our yoga instructor actually was like, wow, you are really tight on that side. I'm like, I know. Okay, so hands back. You want to I'm going to bring my right leg up so my ankle is crossed over my left thigh, just above the knee. Now, if you're leaning back because you're very tight, I understand. But what you want to do is not do that because as we lean back, we're not getting any stretch. We're just kind of, be like sitting down with your legs crossed. So what you want to do the best you can is, get to where you can keep your palms on the floor, but think of bringing those shoulders back. Now, going from here without me actually moving my torso or my anchor foot at all. The minute I open up my chest, I'm feeling that stretch. I'm feeling that stretch. Now, if I had to come back because of tightness or other issues and limited mobility or range of motion, same thing. Once you lean like this, just remember, breathe in, open up, and now you're going to get that stretch. Again, you want to hold this stretch for 10 breaths, but say 5 or 6 breaths in, if you're starting to feel you're more loose, try to walk the hands a little closer, deepening that stretch. So let's hold this for a few breaths because it feels really good, and I have several more videos to film today. I'm going to try to walk up. I have a lot more mobility here, or flexibility on this side. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to switch sides. This is the fun side. I'd like to tell my cameraman to make me look good, but there's nothing he can do here. So I'm going to bring this leg up, and already my hip is screaming. Okay, so I actually, cross that over. See, coaches have issues too. You need to understand that. So we practice the stuff that we teach, especially the stuff we need to improve on ourselves. So right away for myself, I notice I'm leaning to the side, I'm slouching back, and that's because I am so tight in this hip that getting into that nice perfect stretch pose is not something I'm just going to do by default. I have to work myself into it. So I'm here, so I'm going to bring those shoulders back. There's that stretch. Now my knee is still coming up significantly more than it did on the other side, but at least I am holding a straight back. My shoulders are wide or open, my chest is open, and I got my palms on the floor, and I am going to gently push into that stretch and hold it. Okay, good. Now, if I was going to be doing a lower body workout, if it was just a pre-workout, if you're just doing these in the morning or midday or in the evening, again, do each side, hold for 10 breaths, and that's really good. Doing these once through is better than nothing. And if you're somebody that sits a lot during the day, I do strongly recommend you get up at some point in the day and even go through at least 3 of these, okay, holding for 10 breaths each side. Now, for myself, if I was going to be having a lower body or really heavy leg day, glute day, all of that, I would probably pick 3 of these. This one I would definitely do, and I would probably do 3 rounds of it, holding for 10 breaths each time, because I really need to get that hip open and moving and working so I can actually get the benefit of my lifts. So that was seated. Let's get ready for the next one. Okay, so we're staying on the floor and we're going into a 90-90 stretch. Again, it is a variation of pigeon pose, and a lot of you are probably going to be familiar with it once you see it. So front leg bent, back leg bent. So you kind of almost have 2, not quite 90-degree angles, okay? So like Pigeon, you want to have your weight as centered as possible. You don't want to, this is not an effective 90-90 stretch. This is picnic. I call it picnic stretch. You can grab a sandwich, you can eat your sandwich. So we want to get ourselves straight as possible. It may mean adjusting your leg. Again, I do not know what your range of motion is, what your flexibility is, if you have any issues with that, if you're rehabilitating from an injury. So get to where you're not hurting as far as pain. If you're feeling some stretch, that's good. So it's really important that you know the difference, all right? So we're getting into our 90-90. And we're just going to sit up. And now what we want to do is hands on the floor, is come a little bit forward as you can. You want to start feeling that stretch. And you want to hold it for 10 breaths. And again, if you find 3, 5, 6 breaths in, you're feeling really good, start to lower your forearms to the floor and just continue holding for 10 breaths. Okay, we want to push ourselves back up. What we want to do is switch sides, so bring that back leg in. I should mention, be very careful with your transitions from side to side, especially if you have a really tight side, you have an injury, or just something that bothers you a lot. Don't just pop out of one side into the other, because that can hurt, okay? Be nice. Now, here we go. This is my favorite side. So getting into that 90-90 floor position, okay? Again, I'm just, without any support, my body leans because of the tightness, and trying to sit straight just hurts without support. So I'm going to get my hands on the floor. I'm going to bring myself as straight as possible, shoulders back, chest open, and just right there for me, I'm feeling it deep in my left side here. So I'm going to hold that for just a couple breaths. When you breathe, think of breathing into that tight area. Okay, so that's feeling good. So I'm going to start to bring lower down. Whew. Yeah. Okay, and holding here. This is as far as I'm going to go on this side today. This is my limit. So let's hold for a few breaths. Again, always just check in, make sure you're centered, just take notice of how you're feeling, where you're feeling the tightness, breathing into that area of tightness. Going a little further if you can, or just staying put if this is where you're maxing out at. Make sure to keep that back straight. We don't want any hunched backs over, okay? Okay, coming up. Feels good, right? Okay, give those legs a shake, and we're going to move on to the next stretch. This next variation is called supine. So it's basically doing the pigeon pose lying on your back, kind of. So let me show you what that looks like. So you're going to get on your back. Okay, and I'm going to start with my tighter side here. I'm going to take my left leg, I'm going to bring it over my right knee. I'm going to grab around the back of my thigh, and actually, if I can, I'm going to try to grab my shin and pull towards my chest. Okay, now let me try to say that again. So if this is too difficult or you're unable to grab your shin, that's okay. Reach around the back of your thigh and pull in and hold for 10 breaths. If you can grab around and reach the shin, go for that and hold for 10. And again, be conscious of your shoulders. If you just check in right now, if you find that you're like this, don't do that. Relax. Push those shoulders down. Okay, keep that back in touch with the floor, no arching. Now, if this around the shin is too much for you, and if even grabbing around the thigh is too much for you, what you can do is bring that leg up, grabbing around just below the knee and pulling in. And that's a little bit easier. So that might be a starting stretch for you in this position. But again, pull to where you can feel that stretch, hold it there, and breathe for 10. Okay, so I'm going to unwrap myself here. Turn around so you can see. We'll do that on the other side now. So crossed over, and I know I can, because I have much more an open hip here. I'm just going to bring that shin in. That feels really, really good. That's a really great stretch. Feel it all from your glute down the outside of that thigh on the IT band area. You probably should feel some inner thigh too as well. Make sure if this leg's coming in, if you can hold with one hand, just gently apply a little bit of pressure to that knee, not a lot, and just push it out. Holding for 10. Okay, again, careful with the transitions coming up. And let's get ready for the last stretch. All right, I saved my absolute favorite for last because it's actually one that I was only introduced to not all that long ago. And I'm calling it standing pigeon. And this one really hit, if you're somebody that suffers with that sort of tingling, that sciatic pain, which can be sciatica, it also can be it can be piriformitis. So you've got this muscle really deep in the glute that sometimes gets compressed and squished, and it can cause that same feeling. And it's not actually sciatica, but it feels the same. And if you've ever had that pain, it just sucks, okay? And I found this stretch absolutely had such an amazing impact. I walked out of the studio that day feeling so good. So I'm really excited to share this one with you. So for standing pigeon pose, you do need something to support your bent leg. Now, I'm very lucky because I work at a gym, so I have these plyo boxes. But anything, you might have like a kitchen bar stool, something that's solid though, that isn't going to move or swivel, something that you can get your leg up on. And as far as height, that is actually going to be dictated by you, because some of you will have enough flexibility and mobility in your hips that you can bring it up to almost like a 90-degree height, or 90 degrees like to your waist. Some of you might have to start a little lower, so that's up to you, but you do need something to lean on. So what we're going to do is remember that pigeon pose where we were on the floor and our leg was bent in front of us? Same thing, but standing. So I'm going to start with this leg. I was practicing with the cameraman prior to, we had this big discussion, so here we go. So I've got my leg, oh man, I'm feeling that. I got my leg on the box, my other leg is behind me. Again, none of this leaning. So if you're finding that this is already, you're like, if you're wincing in pain, drop the height, or just maybe skip this one, practice the other 4, and work your way up to this as your mobility and flexibility increases, okay? So I'm gonna get that bent leg on the box, chest open, and I'm gonna lean, and I'm gonna feel it. And I'm gonna hold it here for 10 breaths. Okay, starting to loosen up a little. I'm really feeling it deep in that left glute, like, yeah. Ooh. Again, you want to make sure, always check in, every couple breaths check in. Are your hips as square or centered as possible? Are you leaning? Stop it, get centered again. Just always those little check-ins help, and they become automatic reminders, and your brain's going to like reset to that or default to that kind of thinking. Okay, all right. I don't know how many breaths that was, but I'm going to switch sides. Careful getting out of this one, because if you are really tight, bringing that leg off of whatever you're using and bringing it down can be interesting, okay? Same thing on the other side. Okay, I really don't have much problem here with this one, and I can go into, I'm going to bring this back leg back further because I can go into a much deeper stretch on this side. Same thing. I feel really good and centered. My hips feel as even as, they feel fairly even to me. Got my hands on the box. That back leg's extended quite a bit more than on the other side. And I'm just going to bring, with a straight back, bring myself forward. I want to come forward because I really want to deepen that stretch, and whew, there it is. When you find that sweet spot, you're going to know. Your body's going to tell you. Okay, holding it here. Okay, and coming down. All right, standing pigeon stretch. Love that one. Hey, thank you for joining me today, and I really hope you like those 5 variations of the pigeon pose for happy hips. Now, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, show me the love, and if you have any questions or comments, please put them below. I do love hearing from you, and I do my best to get back to everybody and answer your questions. And also, don't forget to click that notification bell and that subscription button, because you don't want to miss any of our great free video content. Now, if you like these stretches and you want more like movements or exercise flows that can help open up your hips and also help with your back, because our spine is so central to everything that we do, and keeping our spine healthy, keeping it supported, keeping it stable is absolutely critical to your quality of life. So the spine affects everything. So if your hips are tight, there may also be issues with your spine. You may have an exaggerated S curve. You may just, you may have compressed discs. Who knows what you have going on? But there's a lot of things you can do that are very non-invasive and very less aggressive than a lot of other therapies and treatments that can help. And the one I really want to share with you today is, if you click that pinned comment below, this is our Unlock Your Spine program. It is absolutely fantastic. You can do it right in your own home. You get the DVD, you get a digital download, and you get me as your personal coach taking you through a series of very easy, very simple, non-aggressive exercises, or flows really. They're like stretches, and they're all put together in a really nice flow that takes you about 5 to 7 minutes. That's it. Morning or night or both. And you're going to start to notice massive improvement in your spinal health, how you feel, your energy, how you sleep, how other systems start to respond and work even better, right down to your digestion. This is just an absolutely must-have home program for anybody that has back issues, has problems with their back, has a sore, tight back, or just wants to improve their mobility, their range of motion, their flexibility, and all around how you are able to perform daily activities with freedom, feeling really great in your space. I'm Coach Tonya. Thank you for joining me. Talk to you soon.